A teleprompter is one of those gear purchases I never thought I would need to make. As someone who works primarily in documentary film and journalistic pieces, it just wasn't on my radar. But then I started my YouTube channel and I started getting hired by more commercial clients with scripted content that they needed to deliver, and all of that changed. For the past 33 weeks, I've been diving into the world of teleprompters for both my own channel and commercial videos. So in this video, I'm going to share which teleprompters I've been using, what they do well, what their shortcomings are, who I think should invest in a teleprompter, when you should hire a professional teleprompter operator, and my tips to look natural while reading off a teleprompter. Let's go. Hey everyone, if you're new here, my name is Austin Meyer. I'm a documentary filmmaker, National Geographic Explorer, and on this channel I share the field-tested skills, mindsets, and lessons that have helped me on my journey as a documentary filmmaker. As with any video I make on gear, I will always be clear up front about my association with any companies involved. With this particular video, I have zero association with any of those companies whose gear I'm talking about. I bought everything with my own money. They have no idea I'm making this video, and they also likely have no idea I even exist. Honestly, I've just been using teleprompters a lot this year, and I recently used one on a pretty high budget shoot. And so I thought this would be a good time to share what I've been learning about this piece of tech in case you're interested. Today we're going to talk specifically about the GlideGear TMP 50 10-inch smartphone mini tripod teleprompter and the Padcaster Parrot Pro. But I'll also touch on professional teleprompters beyond these. First, a bit of context. Back when I started my YouTube channel in October of 2023, a teleprompter was the first gear purchase that I made. I have no idea if you all can tell that I'm reading a teleprompter, but I am. See, check this out. Here is what I am looking at as I read this sentence right now. And the way I make most of my YouTube videos is I spend hours scripting the videos, and then when the scripts are done, I airdrop a PDF version of the script to my phone, which I open in the Teleprompter app. Then I place my phone on the teleprompter, read, and record. This helps me be as efficient as possible with the information I share with you all. When I was looking for a teleprompter to purchase, this was my criteria. I wanted something small, portable, something that could use an iPhone as the text display, and something that could accommodate a 24mm focal length lens on a full frame camera so I could record my videos in small rooms. The first teleprompter I purchased was the Padcaster Parrot Pro, which launched via a Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaign. Like many out there in the YouTube filmmaking space, I saw Gerald Undun's review of it and thought, wow, that looks perfect for me. However, the Padcaster Parrot Pro then took like 10 months to arrive. So in the meantime, I bought the GlideGear TMP 50, which retails for $100 on Amazon. And this is still the teleprompter that I still use for all my desk setup shots on YouTube. So here's the process of how I use this teleprompter. So I finish my script, I airdrop it as a PDF to the Teleprompter app on my phone here, and got all my scripts here for different YouTube videos I've done. Okay, so then what I do, I come over here. Here is where the teleprompter sits. This is the bare bones of it here. So you have this little rod that's out in front. This is where you put the cell phone when you're ready to record. You have your piece of glass, which can flex up and down depending on the angle you need to record at. Then we have the mounting plate for the camera, which I've put an Ulanzi F38 quick release plate, both on my camera and on here. So when I'm ready to record, I finish my script, I come on over and I place my camera, just slide it on there. And my camera is just against the glass. And so you can see that if I were just to stick like that, I'd get a bunch of reflection. The GlideGear comes with this little hood. Attach that. And then when you are ready to display the text, you will put that on the little rod here in front. You slide this little clamp down, secures the phone, and there you go. That is the frame. Now let's see how it looks when you push start. Then you'll start to see the text will be mirrored by the teleprompter, and that's the way that works. Some of the things that I like about the GlideGear TMP 50 is that it hits pretty much all of the marks that I was looking for when I set out to buy a teleprompter. It is not too expensive. It's small enough for the corner of my desk. It's easy to mount on a desk mount, and it's easy to put my Sony a7S III on it for recording. It can almost handle a 24mm focal length. I'd say I'm usually filming at like a 28mm. I just have to zoom in a tiny bit, otherwise I catch some of the prompter's edges in the frame. And I think my favorite feature of the prompter is the glass. On a lot of cheap phone adapted prompters, the glass will give you something called ghosting, which we'll talk about when we get into the Padcaster Pro here. But this glass gives a really clean image. It's very easy for me to read the text, and I never get any unwanted changes to my image quality from the camera that sits behind the glass. The one thing that wasn't working for me about the GlideGear and why I was excited for the Padcaster Parrot Pro, despite the 10-month wait, was that the GlideGear is not optimized for shooting with a cinema camera like my FX6. And I don't know why. Maybe it was the filmmaking gods looking down on me and my newly acquired teleprompter skills, but once I got my first prompter, I suddenly started getting some commercial and client gigs in which participants wanted to read off a teleprompter. That meant I had to figure out how to get my cinema camera up and running on these prompters. Enter the Padcaster Parrot Pro, which retails for $150. Check out this little thing. It is small, portable, and also it became evident right away that this design of the Padcaster would be a little bit more fitted for my cinema camera. See, while the GlideGear requires you to mount the camera on the back of this aluminum rod, the Padcaster uses adapter rings to attach to the end of your camera lens. So as long as you have the right thread sizes and adapter rings, you can pop this prompter on just about any lens. The bad news, the build quality on the Padcaster Pro is not high quality. It feels very cheap, and I had knobs breaking on it within its first day. It doesn't accommodate a 24mm focal length, even though its promotional material said it would. It's difficult to get the prompter to really lock when it's on the lens ring, and the glass has a pretty unpleasant ghosting effect. Ghosting is this double reflected image that makes the text tricky to read and is caused by having cheap glass. Overall, the Padcaster is ridiculously portable and easy to use, but the build quality is anything but professional. So with all that being said about the Padcaster Pro, you might be surprised that I recently used it on a legit commercial gig that I DP'd. And I share this because it might give you insight into why and how I will occasionally use cheap gear on professional jobs. About a month ago, I got reached out to by a commercial client who wanted to film executives reading short scripted messages about cybersecurity. We jumped on a call so that I could get the details, and they wanted me to source a local team for the production. But it also became clear that they didn't quite have the budget to hire me as a DP producer, and then also a production assistant and teleprompter technician. What is a teleprompter tech? Well, for those who don't know, a professional teleprompter technician can cost in the range of $900 to $1,200 a day for a full day of work, and they provide a valuable service. While I just set my prompter to one specific constant speed, a teleprompter tech will monitor the script as it flows, adjusting the speed in real time based on the speaker's cadence. A pro will also come in with bigger prompters, a brighter display, more advanced software, mounting options for different camera systems, and they can make on-the-fly changes and adjustments much quicker than, say, me taking out my phone and typing in a change of the script. So if you're tasked with filming a high-stakes company-wide presentation where you only get one shot at it, that's when you might want to bring in a Teleprompter Pro. But for the gig I was being hired for, I didn't think we'd need that sort of setup. We had the option to do multiple takes, the scripts were short, and the budget was tight. So I explained the constraints of my teleprompter setup and said, hey, if this works for you, I'm comfortable running teleprompter and shooting the video at the same time. And the client loved the idea. It was a win-win. They saved money because they didn't need to hire a teleprompter tech, and I earned more on the back end as well. On shoot day, I slid the Padcaster Pro onto the end of my Sigma 50mm prime lens, and everything worked great. Yes, it was a little clunkier to have me scrolling my phone back every time there was a mistake, or getting new scripts airdropped to my phone so I could open it in the correct app, but everyone was pleased with the results. Reflecting on this gig, I learned once again that it doesn't matter how professional you look. It's about how professional your results are. So my encouragement to you is to get experience with high quality options so that you know how to honestly communicate differences to a client. Like in this example, I've worked with teleprompter techs. So I know exactly how to explain to the client how the experience would change for them if we hired a pro. And I also had enough practice with my own prompters to confidently say, based on all the details of what we're filming, I can guarantee you will get the results you're looking for if I just run the prompter from my phone. And at that point, the ball was in the client's court. On this occasion, they just had me run things, and in that one gig, I earned back the investment I made on both teleprompters that I've purchased. So who should invest in a teleprompter? Well, if you record YouTube videos like me, or are getting into the world of commercial videos where folks like to read scripts, invest in a teleprompter. One job will pay it off. But even if you don't get that one job, filming with a teleprompter can really expedite the filming and editing process for talking head videos. Who shouldn't invest in a teleprompter? Well, if the only commercial videos you're filming are those big, high-stakes, one-take wonder shots, that's when you should bring in the pros. And if the rest of your work is in the documentary film world, then don't even worry about them. But if you've watched this far into the video, my guess is that you're at least a little interested in teleprompters, which is why the final thing I want to share today is for all those who might be interested in using a teleprompter themselves. And that is 3 tips for looking natural while reading off a teleprompter. These are tips that I use myself and are also tips that I give folks when I'm filming commercial gigs. The first tip is to hide your reading. And there are a couple of sub-tips for doing this. One is to find your sweet spot in distance, where you are far enough away from the camera so that it masks your eye movements as you scan back and forth between lines, but not so far that you have to squint to read the text. The other sub-point on this one is to break eye contact with the prompter and the lens. When humans are speaking naturally, they do a lot of searching. They're searching for words, they search their memory, and they often break eye contact when they do that searching. Looking down, looking up and to the side, or pausing their speech as they search for the right thing to say. But when people are using a teleprompter, there can be this temptation to just stare into it and never look away. That's why when I read, I intentionally break my gaze looking away. I intentionally search for a word or pause for effect, and then I return to the script. All of these little moments can hide the fact that you're reading. The next tip is to practice script writing and speaking. If you are writing a script for YouTube videos like I am, one of the best tips I've come across is to write for your speaking voice, not for your reading voice. It's easy when we sit down to write that we start to use flowery language and vocabulary that we don't typically use when talking with a friend. These are the moments that trip us up when reading from a prompter. So practice writing scripts in your speaking voice. And to test out how you're doing, make sure to practice reading your script aloud before you sit down to record. This will give you familiarity with the script and also point you towards any moments that might need to be rewritten. And my last tip for looking natural while reading off a teleprompter is to bring your emotion into your reading. When people are reading from a teleprompter, there's this temptation to get into a monotone, robotic cadence and lose all sense of tonal dynamics. If you're speaking about a time that you were angry, let anger come out when you read. If you're talking about a time when you were inspired, let us feel that sense of awe and wonder in your voice. As I said at the beginning of this video, I never anticipated that I would be making a YouTube video about teleprompters, but they truly have become essential pieces of gear in my kit over the past 33 weeks. So whether you're making YouTube videos or filming commercial clients, I encourage you to get some practice with something like these, because a teleprompter can absolutely help you make your videos better, faster, and help you deliver a more polished message. I'll see you next week. Go out and tell some stories.